Tiffany, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
All right, so Tiffany of Tiffany Chapman Photography, tell us a little bit about your business and how it started.
Great. So I started my business photographing weddings. It was back in 2015 that I hooked up with a mentor and I started just associating with her and assisting her. And then I fell into the portrait world about a year later when I had my portraits taken for the first time. And I've been in business, I would say, since 2015. And wow, I can't believe it's already been 7 years. So, when I did my first wedding, I fell in love with the aspect, but I've always had a camera in my hands. So, I felt like it was something I was good at, and I'm a really fast learner. And then when I fell into the portrait genre, being able to give back these gorgeous memories and portraits of women and men and children and moms and grandmoms. It really like filled my heart with joy.
And I can attest to your work because listeners, hi, Tiffany, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, so I can attest to your work too, Tiffany. Listeners, in 2014, Tiffany was one of the photographers at my wedding. And I've also had my branding and business photos taken with Tiffany. So, Tiffany, you definitely have a way of capturing the essence of people, but in photographs, which I think is truly a gift.
Thank you, Megan.
Um,
Yeah. It's awesome. Like that was actually, I believe that was the first time I ever assisted. So that wasn't 2014. I thought it was 2015, but time flies.
hey, you're not required to remember my wedding anniversary, so no worries there. um, so Tiffany, what are some strengths that you bring into your business as a female business owner?
One is I feel I can be a lot more compassionate. Being a woman business owner is something that, it doesn't come easy. And I think my strengths are that I can see, I feel like I can make people trust me, so they feel more comfortable in front of the camera. No one wants their photos taken or they feel uncomfortable, but sometimes they have to because they want to push themselves out of their comfort zone. And I help them feel comfortable. I hear it all the time. So I think one of the strengths is that I have that really great way of making people trust me immediately.
And that's such a gift and a talent because how do you teach that in school or how do you teach that in like a certificate program, right? That's
Right.
something that, is probably innate in that you learn to kind of build and learn different techniques that help kind of bring that strength out in yourself.
Yeah. And I was very shy growing up.
Okay.
And it's brought me out of my shell. You know what I mean? So I have to put myself out there and I want to put myself out there, but my business has helped me grow as a person, and as a businesswoman, because I know that what's important to the community and to businesses out there and just to anyone that just comes in just for a beauty session or for mommy and me or a maternity. I know that they're putting their faith and trust into me because they've seen my work, they know my personality because I give them that whole experience.
So, Tiffany, you just mentioned something really interesting. You were talking about professional growth, but also personal growth. Having your own business, can you tell us a little bit more about that personal growth you've experienced?
Yeah, for me, like I had said, I had never been a full-time business owner in 2020, unfortunately, or I would say fortunately. It was a bittersweet moment. I worked for an IT organization and they eliminated my position. And I had already had this side hustle, and I was loving what I was doing. And I love my IT work, but I also felt so much more passion for my photography. and I couldn't dedicate all of myself to that.
Right.
So, and it was holding me back. And I knew personally that like I was stressed out. I was not happy. I had a lot of health issues, and all of it was because I was balancing two different things.
Right.
Um, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. So through the fortunate, unfortunate events of the pandemic, and
Mm.
how it affected some of our positions, it helped us kind of have that almost like wake up call about what we truly wanted to do. And for many of us, it was like doubling down on our side hustle. What was that
Yeah.
leap of faith like for you, Tiffany?
Um, I get chills at the back of my neck when I talk about it. I really do. Like I was like, I remember the day that they let me go, and I came out of my office and I looked at my husband. I said, they let me go. And he goes, now you can live your dream job. And
Oh,
it was like,
whoops.
and I was like, oh my God, this was, someone, I love him to death, but he was always like, that's a hobby. It's not a hobby. It's a business and it's thriving. I'm super happy about why, how I've like in the last year and a half, like just completely blown up to the point where I'm like, wow, all right, big girl pants on. I got my business, mindset, and being able to collaborate with women like you and other women that are out there doing this business. The grit, the resilience, and so that's what it just keeps me going. It keeps that fire under you. And also, I would have never made that leap if they didn't push me, to be
Mhm.
really honest. I was comfortable,
You
but I was stressed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it takes those like the universe giving us those major signs like that of like getting let go.
Mhm.
Because same here, the
Yeah.
same thing happened to me, for us to reevaluate things and be like, okay, how do I want to spend the rest of my time on this earth? What do I want to be doing? And it's interesting too how you don't realize how unhappy you were in a situation until you're removed from that situation and you have time to look back. Because when you're in something, it's almost like you're too close to see what's actually happening. And then when
Oh
you can
my.
take a step back, you're like, wow, I had these
Mhm.
health issues. I was stressed out. I didn't spend time with my family. And turns out we were kind of married to jobs and loved jobs that didn't love us back. And now we have jobs and businesses that we love and love us back.
Right. Right. It was such a simple thing. Like if you only could see that other side, through the crystal ball of life, but you have to go that path before you can get where you need to be, you know?
Absolutely. And I just got chill bumps again. I think had we not had that happen to us, we might not have been where we are.
Mhm.
Because even though those jobs might not have been the best experiences, the skill sets that we learned have put us where we are today. We can leverage all
Yes.
those skills in making our dreams come true and making those that we serve, our clients' dreams come true as well. Um,
Yeah.
what so Tiffany, thank you too for being so
Yeah.
open and transparent with
Yeah.
us. I really appreciate that. So many
Yeah.
really hard to talk about because it's our life, right? It's our life and our life.
Mhm.
What have been some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned as a business owner?
Oh, that's a big question. One is I never valued myself as being worthy of my work, right? So one of the lessons that I think I've learned is seeing that I am an artist, and that people's memories are really, really important, and people's businesses are really, really important, and that they're taking all of their, I would say, all of their eggs and putting it in one basket kind of thing just for me. And it took me a little while. I would say, it's still a process. I'm still evolving into the value, but I'm putting up boundaries, and I think that has been something I let people push the boundaries over, because I wanted to just please everyone, and I wanted everyone to like me. Well, that's from my childhood. Don't get me started. We're not going to get into that. That's not this call.
I feel you on that though. But I think that's really common with women. And I think there's research around that. And one of the podcast episodes I was researching talks about this idea of likability, and how that affects our work in leadership as women. So there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah. And I think we were having a discussion earlier, Tiffany, and I'll tell our listeners, we were talking about this idea of thinking like a CEO and making decisions like a CEO, because we are CEOs of our own companies and really of our own lives, right?
Right.
And sometimes, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I find myself thinking, if I were a male CEO, would I be worried about this person liking me because this is the price range that I have? And I don't know if a man would necessarily worry about that the same way that we do. Nor would I, nor do I think that a man would necessarily wonder about or think about valuing themselves, and that lesson of really learning to value ourselves, which is an important lesson that we need as women to kind of embrace. And I think sometimes when we don't see that in ourselves, it really takes one another to kind of point that out in each other. And I think that's why it's so important for female business owners to kind of have this strong network and community, because when we don't see those things in ourselves, it's important that others are pointing them out to us, and vice versa. We need to be pointing those things out in others and say, Tiffany, your work is incredible. Your work is so valuable, and you are an amazing artist. Like, you need to walk into a room knowing those things.
Right. Surrounding yourself with like-minded female business owners has been something that I can't get enough of. Because they lift me up, and I do what I can to lift them back, or give back. And I think I am, I'm at that point where I'm like, I want to keep giving, but I also want people to see how hard I've been giving. I don't even know if that makes sense. I don't know if that was.
I think it totally makes sense. And I don't know if you can hear a leaf blower in the background. So my apologies for that. But, this is real life. What I'm hearing you say is that you put a lot into your work. And that needs to be recognized and compensated.
Yeah. And exactly. And, I'm not for everybody. There's so many photographers doing exactly what I'm doing out there. And I love it. I love like seeing people grow, and it's not just about photographers. My hair and makeup artist that works for me is all self-taught. I'm self-taught. I never went to school for photography. I am a sponge. Like, I see something and I'm like, oh my God, I got to learn how to do that. Where do I need to go? And that's, I think, comes from my IT background. Like, you had to be on your toes and resourceful and fix the problem, always fixing problems and finding a solution right away. And I think, like you had just said, like, your past kind of comes into your business moving forward. It gave me some great experience, some great stepping stones to be confident in learning new skill sets and professionally developing myself with my photography. I was just talking to a client the other day and I was like, oh my God, you came to see me like 6 months ago. I've made leaps and bounds since then. You know what I mean? Like, I'll say that because I'm like, come back in. Let's do something else.
All right, Tiffany. So something that I've noticed that I've been learning from you are your mad social media skills. Tell us a little bit about, like, give us some mini lessons, give us some knowledge. What's working for you with social media? And
yeah, that's a loaded question. It's funny because I'm actually having other photographers reach out to me to ask me how I do my reels. And I was like, well, are you kidding me? I just learned how to do them like 4 months ago. I still don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I do. Like, I'll throw them together a lot quicker now because I know, what I need to kind of attract the ideal client, and I am getting more interaction on Instagram. But I did start out with a Facebook group, a private Facebook group that is women and men that are interested in my portraits and my personal branding. And I've got almost 900 members in there. And I started like 3 years ago. And then after I got let off with my job, my mentor, amazing woman, Michelle Ashley, she does boudoir out in Worcester. She's been an amazing, amazing mentor and businesswoman to me in my growth. She was like, Tip, kickstart your Facebook group again. And I will tell you, it's been one of the best things I ever did. So one of the things that I love to do though, besides keeping that, I put my behind the scenes, I put people's reveal favorites in there. I will do a shout out to local owned businesses. So the other thing that I love to do with Instagram is really keep it real. I know it's like, a little pun to the reels of Instagram. I'm goofy. That's my other personality. And I think a trait that everyone loves is that I'm a goofball. But, um, you know, I want people to see who I am as a person and not just the photographer artist. I put some vulnerable things out there. My cat passed away recently and I had to put her to sleep. But I also I want people to see I have beautiful portraits, but I also have a life, and I am a real person. Um, I hear this phrase all the time, fake it till you make it. I don't want to fake it too much because then, I don't look authentic. And, my whole passion is about being authentic and creating authentic, timeless portraits of you that you can look at. I say that even with my weddings, but also with the women that come in for, beauty portraits or 40 over 40 campaign that I'm running. I I don't want you to look back in 10 years and be like, that's not me. So
Right. And I feel like we owe it to each other as women to not be fake, to be real. Because we're setting up societal expectations, right?
yeah.
So yeah, sometimes we're doing a very professional podcast and there's a leaf blower in the background. That's like life, like, that's real life. That's being real. Sometimes we have a
Exactly.
to come out and like hop in our lives. That's real. And I think when we
Right.
make everything look perfect, we're doing a disservice to one another. Um,
Hmm.
especially as like moms and women and people who are juggling a lot. Because things drop.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I love to seeing the real side of you on your Instagram. And I've definitely learned some lessons for that. And I think too, you had talked earlier about this idea of trust and having clients trust you. And I think that's a big piece of it is like, you are putting your real self on Instagram, personal and professional. And that kind of, is like setting a really great foundation for a really awesome professional relationship.
Yeah. And it's engaged, the engagement is key for business. I say that all the time. I say it in my portraits. I will give people little plugs like, okay, act like you're engaging with me, and the little pings that I give people for posing and making them look a little more authentic is kind of funny because I get some really cute expressions whenever I say little pings like that.
Yeah.
Good
So
morning.
I definitely didn't have my toddler just watching shows on the TV while I'm working. Um, yeah, real life.
Oh, I
All right, Tiffany. So switching gears a little bit, what has been a time as a business owner where you've really had to dig in and do something hard, like to really get in touch with your Moxie? Um, like when something's been really tough.
Um, I think for me is when I was trying to build my client base and realizing what I wanted to do as my primary focus. Um, I want to do all the things. That's me. Like I want to do maternity, I want to do children portraits, I want to do beauty portraits, I want to do creative portraits, I want to do business portraits, I want to do women that are over 40 portraits and lift up women in my community. And I was like, whoa, like that's been really hard for me to like hone in on and be like, Tiff, you can't do all the things. Because if you do, you're going to lose sight of what your why is.
Right.
And my why has always been behind my heart and giving people memories that they can walk away with and love.
Mm.
And I lost it a little bit, I would say over the last like 4 months, because I was like, I was so busy. And I think that's really hard as a businesswoman is keeping yourself grounded and keeping that thought in mind that this is your why. It's not because you're just trying to get through that last quarter because it's like the busiest quarter of your business. But yeah, I feel like that was really hard for me to just hone in and be like, all right, Tiff, and also pricing. That's another thing that people, you know, I don't I don't want to be too transparent, but pricing's hard.
I
You
second that.
pricing's hard. Pricing's really hard. And you want your clients that have always been there, right? But you also know that some of them are going to walk away because you've either adjusted your pricing, um, or you're not offering what you used to. I love newborns, but it's not like my specialty. So I will refer that to another photographer who does a wonderful job doing it. And I will open up doors to other creative outlooks, but I think this year has been, it's only what, day 12, but this year I'm like, I am just like honing in on a few things, that fuel my soul and that will continue to push me forward. That's all I want. I just want to keep propelling forward and do all the things, but keep it a little more condensed and organized.
There's so much to unpack with what you've just said. One,
Mm,
the idea of keeping our why in the front of our mind. The Simon Sinek golden circle, right? Like, what's your why? So
mhm.
my takeaway from that is I'm going to make sure it's on a sticky note and it's above my desk, reminding me of why we do what we do. So thank you for that. And this other
Mhm.
idea of wanting to do everything, been there, done that. And I've learned that it's really great just to kind of focus. Sorry, she's worried about baby shark. One moment. The other thing I was thinking about from what you were saying, Tiffany, is this idea of wanting to do everything. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's because women are just so awesome. We're used to doing everything. But if you're going to grow a business, focusing and zeroing in on something, on one thing, and doing it really well is a good use of our time, our energy, and it's a great way to grow a business. So that's something I definitely learned, because we want to do the academic coaching and after school clubs and online virtual clubs and
Oh,
then
yeah.
PD and just really zeroed in like what fits with our why. Well, we want at the community classroom kids to find joy and confidence in learning. Okay, what does that come from? Tutoring, like working one-on-one with a private teacher. Like that's what we need to zero in on, and those other things might come down the road, but let's get really good at that one thing first.
Mm.
And then um gosh, what was the other thing? I wrote it down, I thought. Yeah, you just had so much to unpack. Oh my goodness. Um,
It's so easy to put ourselves in like that silo, or not easy to put ourselves in that silo. Sorry, I misspoke, but um and sometimes you need to do that to develop the craft and really be so good at it. And for me, I evolve every single day that I am running my business. Um, every single shoot, I evolve. I love that part about what I do because I'm like, wow, oh, it's such a. I love the self-esteem boost that I get um, every time I do a portrait session, because it- like I said, the joy that comes out of people's mouths or their faces or their expressions, or, the toughest client you could think of who never wants to step in front of the camera, hates their photos taken or has never had their photos taken, walks away saying, oh my God, I've never seen a picture that I'd love so much of myself. That is priceless. So it just, like I said, it's the propelling forward and knowing what my why is and to keep doing it.
um, I can just kind of feel the joy that you get in your work come through your words, Tiffany. It's so like the passion is enveloping me. Um,
Mm, thank you.
so I want to go back to something you mentioned about pricing. That's something
Mm,
I struggled with as well. My background's in education in the nonprofit world, and I want to give everything for free. I want to do
yeah,
everything for free. I want to give everything for free. And what I've
yeah.
realized is that's not fair to myself or my craft. That's not
Hmm.
be sustainable for a business, but it's also not fair to the people that I employ. Like if we're going to build, so we have 27 tutors, and out of the 27, 26 are women. So if one of my whys for leadership is like developing strong leaders in other women, and if I'm working on that within my own business, like I need to pay my team as much as I can because I value them so much. And I can't do that if I'm giving away everything for free. But
Right.
but pricing is so hard.
It is.
Where how did you kind of land on a firm, comfortable point with pricing?
Um, I have an education course or education platform that I really value and that I've been a part of for like 4 years. And it's a professional portrait masters education group that I it's invaluable to me. They have everything you can think of on where to start. You know, I can't I can't follow what everyone else is doing, right? Be yourself, right? What is it? Competition is or comparison is the thief of all joy, right?
Truth.
And I was doing that for the first few years of my business. I was comparing myself to, the women that were around me, the men that were around me doing the same thing for weddings. Okay. So I started out, the wedding part was where I really started with the pricing, right? Because I was like giving it away. I really was. And I was like, oh my God, all this work I have to do after. Like I wasn't valuing my hourly rate or, what I was giving afterwards because I wasn't in the thick of it. And as the years went by, I was like, wow, no, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing 10 hours of weddings. I'm only going to do 8 and I'm going to do 4. And you know what I mean? And at that point, I started realizing that the people that were not hiring me were going with the less photographer, less amount photographer, which is fine. Like, you pay for what you get. I hate to say that, but it's true. I mean, we can base that in every single aspect of our life, right? Go to IKEA versus Ethan Allen, right? You pay for what you get. And I'm a luxury brand. I've started to really hone in on that particular experience for my clients because they come in for a wardrobe and styling consultation. They come in for portraits that have hair and makeup services included. They have almost a 2-hour session with me, and they get access to all of my clothing in my wardrobe closet in my studio. And then we do a Zoom reveal, which, all that time, you think about all that time, that's a good, like, I would say 12 hours, right? So I thought about this over the last probably 8 to 10 months. Like that's you're dedicating all of that time. You have to know your worth and just do what you want to do and what you need to sustain right now. And then once you have that client base and that referral and you feel good, who knows when that will be? I'm just kidding. You're like I keep saying, you're always evolving into that particular um, journey. And pricing is, I was just talking to someone this morning about it. Like, she's like, do you do this? And I was like, no, should I? It's another, but she does exactly what I do, right? She does exactly what I do. And she just reached out. She's like, do you offer this? And I was like, no. She's like, well, you should. You would make, you should do this because see what it does. It gives people more incentive. And I was like, I tried that. She's like, try it again. So I love that I have women in my life and men in my life that are always like, "Why don't you try this?" Especially with pricing. I try to change it twice a year. I don't I don't go too crazy.
Yeah, I think like so many things in life, relationship and community is everything. Having people to bounce ideas off of, brainstorm with, work as thought partners. And you are definitely a luxury brand. Having experienced the branding sessions, it is a luxury brand. But it's so interesting you said that. I had that same realization. In full transparency, I'm just over a year into my business. So I am like a baby business owner. But I had this realization where I'm like, oh, I'm not Target. I want to be Nordstrom's. Like, we don't have like
Yes.
high school students tutoring other high school students. Like, I've got certified teachers with 20 years experience. That's more of like a
Yeah.
luxury experience. It's
Mhm.
professional. Um, and yeah, that's Nordstrom's. I want people to feel like they're getting Nordstrom's with me. And once I realized that,
Mhm.
it kind of solidified my social media, my presence on social media, my pricing. It really helped who I brought on in my team. It really helped kind of solidify the vision that I had for the business and what I wanted the client experience to be like, because that's what it's all
Mhm.
about, right? Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Tiff, shout out some of your favorite female-owned businesses. Show them.
Um, Busy Bee Cleans out of Northampton. Carrie Lynn has been one of the most amazing women I've met. She is offering cleaning services for, residential and commercial, but she's a one-woman show. She's got a staff underneath her, but she came in for a branding session and we immediately connected. She's so great. And I have to give her some credit because she is always kind of throwing things at me. Like she'll text me and be like, hey, why don't you do this? Um, but we're not in the same realm. Like we don't, she does cleaning services on photography, but she's still like, hey Tiff, guess what? And kind of like you, Megan, you're another person that I would shout from the rooftops, like, go see Megan, she's amazing. Your child needs, these services. You have to go and find your craft. And you have, Megan. Like I admire, even you being a newbie, you're still like, you're going for it. Like I admire your grit and your resilience in what you're doing, and just your power and wanting to help others, I think is so inspiring to me. So another shout out that I love to give, she doesn't have her own business, but I love my hair and makeup artist. But I also love Heather Sikorsky, and I also love Michelle Ashley. She's out of Worcester. She's my mentor. She's been a wonderful asset, like I had mentioned before. So, the women in our community in Florence, where we are, I'm just starting to um, explore a little bit more with who's in that community. And I didn't even know you and I had met in a networking event in November again. And you were like, hey, Tiffany, remember me? And I was like looking at you, and I'm going to be really true. I was like looking at you going, I, yeah, kind of. Well, it was COVID brain. Like I had COVID brain or something because we're all like behind masks all the time. And yes, you had a mask on, but I was like, I haven't been out networking. It was like my first networking event in like what, almost 2 years. And I'm like looking at you going, uh-huh, yeah. And then he walked away and I was like, who was that? And we connected, later on in the night. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed that my brain just went to complete blank. And I
That
love this connection. You've been such a wonderful, wonderful connection and relationship for me. And I'm so excited about what we're working on together too.
Yeah, the Resilient Project. So featuring, I think we're gonna start, I think it's 12 now, 12 female, including Yumi and Carrie Lynn,
Yes.
12 female business owners in Florence, Massachusetts,
Mm-hmm.
telling their stories through photographs taken by you, Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
So group photographs, and then of course Monday Moxie telling their stories through interviews as well. So we'll put that information in the show notes for people so you can find more information about the Resilient Project. And Tiffany, where else do people go to find you?
I am online for website, tiffanychapmanphotography.com. Instagram is Tiff Chapman Photo. And I'm also on Facebook as Tiffany Chapman Photography. And if you want to join my private group, please just become my friend on Facebook and I'll add you,
All right.
because you'll get to see so many cool. It's like I would say it's like a bird's eye view into what I do every session with my clients.
Yeah, it's super inspiring. Even if you're not someone who's into photography, you will learn so much that you can apply to your own business. You are also phenomenal at lifting others up. So I really appreciate your time, Tiffany. Thank you for your transparency and sharing your story. And
Of course.
listeners, we'll put information as to where to find and connect with Tiffany in the show notes. And tune in next Monday for Monday Moxie. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you, Megan.